Hey, what's up everyone, welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news updates. From the moment he first appeared on TLC's 90 Day Fiancé, audiences were introduced to a man whose life was anything but simple. Financial struggles, cultural clashes, public criticism, and deeply personal failures all played out in front of millions. Yet through it all, David remained visible, vocal, and unapologetically human. Now, in one of the most sobering chapters of his life, David finds himself not in front of cameras for entertainment, but lying in a hospital bed, confronting the reality of his own health. The image itself was jarring. Gone were the cheerful food videos, the playful smiles with Annie, and the carefree travel updates. Instead, fans saw David pale, visibly tired, surrounded by hospital equipment, speaking softly but deliberately. His message was not dramatized, nor was it vague. It was honest, emotional, and deeply personal. David Toborowsky was hospitalized, and he wanted the world to know the truth. For longtime viewers of 90 Day Fiancé, David's journey has always been one of extremes. He was introduced as a man deeply in love with a woman half his age, struggling financially, and often criticized for his decisions. Many doubted his intentions, his stability, and even his sincerity. Yet over time, David surprised critics by evolving. He found financial footing, built a genuine marriage with Annie, and transformed himself into one of the franchise's most enduring success stories. However, behind the scenes, another battle was unfolding, one that David could no longer ignore. According to David, his health issues did not begin overnight. They were the result of years of accumulated stress, poor lifestyle choices, and neglecting warning signs that his body had been sending for a long time. He admitted that there were moments when he felt unwell but chose to push through, believing that rest could wait and responsibilities came first. Like many people, David convinced himself that he would address his health later. That later, he now admits, came too late. The hospitalization was not planned. Symptoms escalated quickly, forcing David and Annie to seek immediate medical attention. What began as concern turned into urgency as doctors recommended admission for further testing and monitoring. David explained that hearing those words, "You need to stay in the hospital," was one of the most frightening moments of his life. In that instant, reality hit him with full force. From his hospital bed, David spoke about fear in a way fans had never heard before. Not the exaggerated fear often seen in reality television, but real fear, the kind that settles into your chest when you realize you may have taken your health for granted. He talked about the silence of hospital rooms at night, the constant beeping of machines, and the long hours spent thinking about the choices that led him there. Throughout this experience, Annie has remained a constant presence. David repeatedly emphasized that without Annie, he does not know how he would have endured this moment. He described her as his anchor, his advocate, and his emotional support. Annie ensured he followed medical instructions, asked doctors the right questions, and reminded him daily that his life mattered more than anything else. For fans who have watched their relationship evolve, this moment revealed the depth of their bond more than any televised argument or romantic gesture ever could. This was not a storyline, it was real life. Annie's devotion during David's hospitalization silenced any remaining critics who once doubted their marriage. David also used this moment to confront uncomfortable truths about himself. He acknowledged long-standing struggles with weight, diet, and stress management. He admitted that fame and public attention did not protect him from the consequences of unhealthy habits. In fact, he believes the pressure to constantly be on for fans may have contributed to ignoring his own needs. One of the most powerful aspects of David's health update was his sense of accountability. He did not blame anyone else. He did not minimize the seriousness of his condition. Instead, he spoke directly to viewers, urging them to learn from his experience. He warned that the body keeps score, and no amount of optimism can erase years of neglect. As news of David's hospitalization spread, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media platforms filled with messages of concern, prayers, and encouragement. Fans who had followed his journey from the beginning expressed shock and sadness, while others thanked him for being open about something so personal. Many shared their own health scares, saying David's honesty gave them the courage to take their own symptoms seriously. Even fellow 90 Day Fiancé cast members reached out publicly, setting aside past conflicts to wish him well. In moments like these, the reality television world fades away, revealing a shared humanity beneath the surface drama. David was careful not to provide medical misinformation or speculation. He stated clearly that he was under professional care and that doctors were conducting thorough evaluations. While he did not disclose every detail of his diagnosis, he assured fans that he was stable and receiving the treatment he needed. His focus, he said, was recovery, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. He also spoke about aging and mortality with surprising clarity. David acknowledged that getting older means facing truths you can no longer avoid. Health is not guaranteed, and time is not unlimited. Lying in a hospital bed, he said, changes your perspective on everything, from money and fame to relationships and regrets. Despite the seriousness of the situation, David expressed gratitude. Gratitude for medical professionals, for Annie, for fans, and even for the wake-up call itself. He believes this experience, while terrifying, may have saved his life by forcing him to change. As David Toborowsky settled into the reality of being hospitalized, the emotional weight of the situation began to sink in more deeply than ever before. Hospitals have a way of stripping life down to its essentials. There are no distractions, no carefully curated social media moments, no edited narratives. There is only the present moment, the body, the mind, and the uncertain stretch of time ahead. For David, this environment forced him to confront not only his physical condition but also the emotional toll of years spent living under pressure. In quiet moments between medical checks and conversations with doctors, David found himself replaying key chapters of his life. He reflected on the early days before 90 Day Fiancé, when his life was already complicated but far less public. He thought about the decisions that brought him to Thailand, where he met Annie Suan, and how that meeting changed the trajectory of his life forever. What once felt like a risky leap of faith eventually became the foundation of his greatest source of stability and love. Yet even as his personal life improved, David admitted that he often neglected his own health. The demands of work, public appearances, online content creation, and maintaining relevance in the reality TV space created a constant sense of urgency. There was always something to do, somewhere to be, or someone to respond to. In that cycle, routine medical checkups and lifestyle changes were postponed again and again. From his hospital bed, David spoke candidly about denial. He explained that many people convince themselves that health problems happen to others, not to them. Small symptoms are ignored. Fatigue is normalized. Pain is explained away. David admitted he did the same, even when his body was clearly signaling distress. It was easier, he said, to keep moving than to stop and face the possibility of serious illness. Annie, however, had noticed the changes long before the hospitalization. David shared that she often worried about his energy levels, his breathing, his sleep, and his overall well-being. She encouraged him to slow down, to eat better, and to take breaks. At times, he brushed off her concerns, believing he could handle it. Now, lying in a hospital bed, he openly admitted that he should have listened sooner. One of the most emotionally charged aspects of David's update was his discussion of fear, not fear of pain, but fear of leaving unfinished business behind. He spoke about worrying for Annie's future, about wanting to be present for the life they continue to build together. He talked about how illness forces you to confront the idea that time is precious and not promised. These thoughts, he said, were overwhelming but also clarifying. As doctors conducted tests and monitored his condition, David found himself learning a new kind of patience. Hospital time moves differently. Days blur together, measured not by productivity but by progress. He learned to celebrate small victories, stable readings, encouraging test results, moments of strength returning to his body. Each improvement, no matter how small, felt monumental. David also addressed the emotional impact of being vulnerable in public. Sharing a health update from a hospital bed was not an easy decision. He knew that once the image was out there, speculation would follow. Rumors, exaggerated headlines, and misinformation are common in the reality TV world. Still, David chose transparency over silence. He explained that he did not want fans to hear distorted versions of the truth. He wanted them to hear directly from him. The response from fans deeply moved him. Messages arrived from around the world, people who had followed his journey for years, as well as others who simply related to his struggle. Many shared stories of their own hospital stays, health scares, and moments of reckoning. David said reading those messages reminded him that illness is a universal experience, one that connects people across cultures, ages, and backgrounds. Some fans admitted they had once judged David harshly during his early 90-day Fiancé appearances. Yet now, they expressed empathy, saying this moment revealed his humanity more clearly than any televised storyline ever had. David acknowledged these messages with humility, stating that growth often comes from being misunderstood and then choosing to become better anyway. Annie's role during this time cannot be overstated. David described her as tireless. She managed logistics, communicated with family, and ensured that he felt emotionally supported at every step. Even when she was exhausted, she remained positive, often lightening the mood with humor or gentle encouragement. David said her presence reminded him why fighting for his health mattered so much. The hospital experience also prompted David to reconsider his relationship with food, exercise, and self-care. He admitted that indulgence had often been a coping mechanism, celebrating success, soothing stress, or simply enjoying life. While he does not regret enjoying those moments, he now recognizes the importance of balance. Health, he said, is not about perfection but about consistency and awareness. Doctors discussed long-term changes with him, emphasizing that recovery does not end at discharge. David was clear that this experience would not be treated as a temporary scare. He intends to make lasting adjustments, even if they are difficult. He spoke about redefining what strength means, not pushing through pain, but respecting limits. Another powerful theme of David's update was gratitude. Gratitude for modern medicine, for doctors who took his concerns seriously, and for nurses who treated him with compassion. He described moments when medical staff went beyond their duties to ensure his comfort and peace of mind. These acts, he said, restored his faith in humanity during a time of vulnerability. David also acknowledged the mental health aspect of hospitalization. Being confined, uncertain, and physically weakened can take a toll on the mind. He admitted there were moments of anxiety and sadness, moments when fear threatened to overwhelm him. In those times, he leaned on Annie, prayer, and messages from fans to stay grounded. As days passed, David began to feel a renewed sense of purpose. The hospital bed, once a symbol of fear, slowly became a place of reflection and resolve. He realized that surviving difficult moments carries responsibility, to grow, to change, and to use the experience to help others. He expressed hope that his story would encourage viewers to prioritize health before crisis forces their hand.